It's a 2x2.
Give me just a few more minutes, guys. Facebook is giving us a few restriction issues. Be right with you.
Alder Tate is going to be joining us, so he says.
Pam, it does look like we're streaming.
Oh, it is live? Okay.
It looks like it is, yes.
Okay, it's giving me an error. Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. All right, just one. Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, then we are live then.
Sounds like a plan. Well, the hour of 5:30 having arrived, we will get this meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee for today, the 11th of April, I believe, started. Is that the day? It is. What day is it? Where am I? Okay, here we go. First item of business is, I believe, to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Oh no, first item of business is roll call and then approval of the minutes. Let's do the roll call first, please, with the understanding that Alder Miedema has asked to be excused.
Okay. Alder Taft.
Present.
Alder West.
Here.
Alder Pete.
Present.
Alder Tate II.
Present.
And Alder Miedema is excused. That completes roll call.
Great. Thank you so much. So that takes us to the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. So
Move to approve. Tate. Second, Pete.
alrighty, are there any items for discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. And Director Fisher, take it away.
Great. First item on the agenda, 0190-22, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason, requesting permission to enter into a 3-year contract with Microsoft Corporation to purchase Microsoft 365 G3 and Defender Endpoint. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute said agreement with Microsoft Corporation to purchase Microsoft 365 G3 and Defender Endpoint. Fiscal note, this is a 3-year contract with a total cost of $1,003,313.76. Funds are available in account 701-13-57800 for fiscal year 2022, and costs for subsequent years will be appropriated during the annual budget process. MIS Director Edwards is here to speak on the item.
Please proceed, Director Edwards.
Thank you very much, everybody. Mayor and alders. Basically, this is just a continuation. We've had the software in the city for over 20 years, and this is just our current contract is ending, and we need to up the contract. And so we're moving to a little bit more advanced set of software, which will give us more flexibility. Does anybody have any questions?
I see Alder Tate II has his hand up. President Tate, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Director Edwards. Couple questions. One, is this software used throughout every city department? So is this police, fire, public works, everybody is using this particular set of software? There's no proprietary or secondary systems that other departments are using?
Yeah, so this is basically the Microsoft set of software that includes our email system. It also includes desktop systems, some of our security systems, and others. And so, though there are other softwares out there, Google has a product, the cost and the effort to move from Microsoft, which has been used in the city for so long, would not be advisable. And so, yes, all staff use the software minimally for email, including yourself as part of your city email.
So you mentioned like it would be not feasible cost-wise to kind of transition. Is that partially because of the timing with which the current contract is expiring and perhaps anticipating within 3 years that we might be exploring in between now and then potential other options and what that lead time and transition time might look like? Is that the primary reason why we wouldn't be exploring a different direction?
To move off of a piece of software that the city had used and everybody is trained in, and that's everybody in the entire, that's over almost 800 employees, would be an enormous undertaking. And currently the Microsoft products do offer some advanced features that the other products don't. So at this time, I don't see a need for the city to move off of Microsoft.
Okay.
I think that the effort for staff, the disruption to them, would not be worth possible slight savings that we might get. And there are just so many more capabilities that we haven't even explored, and which is one of the reasons why we did a large assessment of exactly what we wanted to purchase and how we would be implementing some of the new capabilities.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. What's the current cost differential as it relates to this particular 3-year contract versus the prior contract, since we're essentially maintaining service, although
well, actually, we're actually adding a whole security suite. So originally we were paying for what they call Office 365, and we're moving to what's called Microsoft 365. Don't ask me why they came up with these names. They're kind of confusing, I realize. But the Microsoft option allows us to also get access to an entire set of security programs located in their enterprise mobility and security package. Additionally, Microsoft increased their costs across the board of 10%, and so this includes that. But having assessed with Microsoft as well as our third-party support vendor, this will increase our security capabilities and ensure we're adding some best practice capabilities also. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and actually it segues right into what my last question would have been, is if you could speak a little bit more to the security features that are going to be offered and available to us, considering we, ran into some security challenges within the last several years, and hoping that whatever is being offered and, funded through this particular requisition would further strengthen us from having to go through that again.
Yes, and this is just one of a variety of layers that we use for security at the city. And so they've got a variety, and some of these we've actually been purchasing on an ad hoc basis, but they add an advanced threat analysis piece of software. We get some configuration management software through this, where we don't have to pay for it separately. We also get security around their cloud applications. And there's some more Azure information protection software that they're adding into this. And so there's a variety of capabilities that we will be able to use to increase our security. Additionally, because we've moved from the Office suite of software to the Microsoft suite, That allows us to expand in the next 3 years to even more software that they add if we so desire. If we had stayed with the Office, we wouldn't be able to expand because within the 3-year contract, we are relegated to either stay in the Office set or in the Microsoft set. So this seems to be the most advantageous for the city.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Alder Pete, you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Between Alder Tate and Director Edward, you answered most of my questions. But I understand that the switching costs, retraining would be a big issue, even if we considered going with, for example, the Google Suite, but which would lead into my questions. And that is with maintenance, updates, all of the additional security measures that may have to come down the road covered in this cost?
Yes, this is a 3-year contract. Now, if we buy outside of the set we just bought, we would have to additionally pay for that, but we get close to, I think it's almost 20 packages of software. Some we're already using, some we plan to use. Some we might look at using, we're not exactly sure. But Microsoft has kind of moved away from the purchase this and purchase that.
Yep.
It's very expensive to do that, so it makes more sense to purchase the suites of software. And I agree with you, the cost of switching to something else, especially in an organization that uses these products so thoroughly, is a change that you really have to look at on all levels, not just the monetary, but the staff time, as well as training and historical documents and being able to view them and things like that. So.
Okay. And the last question is, I understand this says total cost of roughly 1.3 mil. That's roughly 333,000 per year over 3 years, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I think you got close to this talking to Alder Tate II, but I mean, what is the difference in cost from last year to this year with the new, because you said they went up in cost as well as we added some products. So if what's the difference?
I unfortunately don't have those numbers available right at the moment, but I can certainly send those out to you after the meeting and talk about what our previous costs and what it included, as well as what our new costs are, including the 10% increase across the board that they added.
Right. No, I think that would be useful for full council. That's probably going to come up as a question. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Alder Pete, your hand is up. Do you have another?
Yes, just one quick comment going back to what Director Edwards pointed out. And I'm going to be mentioning in many conversations the dirty word inflation. But I think it's great that we're being, and it's good for the Common Council to understand that we're locking in with this price for 3 years. The same package 6 months from now or 6 days from now could be substantially more, with all the other environmental issues going on politically, geopolitically, and what have you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I don't see any further questions for Director Edwards. Thank you, Director Edwards. So a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Alder Tate II, seconded by Alder West. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries and brings us to the next item. Director Fisher, if you would.
Number 0234-22, communications sponsored by Alder Taft on behalf of the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, requesting permission for the mayor and city clerk to enter into an MOU with Racine Unified School District to provide entry-level recreation activities for an after-school summer playground program at 7 RUSD selected schools. Staff recommendation is to authorize mayor and city clerk to enter into a contract with RUSD. Fiscal note, program budget is approximately $176,000. Expenditures will include salaries, supplies, and transportation, and will be fully reimbursed by RUSD at the end of the program. Director Molbeck is here to speak on the item.
Yes, good evening. So our department has been working pretty close with Unified over the last few months to hopefully not just bring this program, but many more programs as a partnership with our department and theirs. But what we're looking for is the approval and to get this MOU confirmed and signed so that this program in the summertime can take off. It is a reimbursement program. We've worked out with finance on how to mark those fees down, so we would be all set with that. We are working with the city attorney's office to make sure the MOU is stated correctly and that can be signed. But this is one of hopefully many programs that will be in partnership. I do have Jason Mars, our superintendent of recreation, here if you have any more detailed or specific questions that you may ask in regards to this.
All right, okay, so I saw a hand. Alder, take a second, please proceed, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my first question is, I heard RUSD selected schools. I'm presuming since this is going to be happening within the city of Racine and RUSD actually goes outside the city borders, that the schools that are selected for this to occur to would be ones within the city limits. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. We're going to be targeting all the schools that will be holding summer school this year. So schools should be, I believe, Nat Mitchell, Gilmore, Julian Thomas, Olympia Brown, Wadowitz, SC Johnson, and Gifford at this time are the schools that will be scheduled for summer school. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be extending what we already do in the city with our traditional playground program. We will have playground leaders that we call, and also we will also be using 16 students from the RUSD education pathways through their high schools. So they'll be involved as well. And we'll be extending the after school. So after summer school, we'll have programs, whether it's arts and crafts, athletics, lunch will be provided. This program kind of came from about 2 years ago when the mayor and the county and RUSD was meeting about bringing in collaborations, and with COVID happened. And so some things were in the works for a while. And finally, we're excited to get this going. It's going to be a natural fit. We did this about 4 years ago with the Lighted Schoolhouse program at the time, but on a much smaller scale. So this is going to be a bigger endeavor for us. But Matt Gomez from our staff has put together a real good plan of action. So as Tom mentioned, we're hoping to bring in more things in the fall with RUSD as well. So that's kind of the overall, I guess, the gist of that. Sorry.
All right. Well, that does answer the direct question. I have another question relating to recruitment for the playground leaders, but that's not necessarily this subject, so we can maybe follow up in a different conversation about that, Tom and Jason.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yep.
Alder Pete, your hand is raised.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First question is, first of all, I've been an advocate for this type of program, but first question is, what criteria do you use to select the schools that can participate?
Well, the schools actually came to us and wanted to extend through their extended learning program. They wanted to use the summer school sites for this summer program because that's where the summer school will be held. So it'll be a natural fit. We'll already be there when the kids get out of school with our programs. So the other schools at this time in the summer will be closed, but we'll be at any of the ones that will have kids there in the summer school. So our program will run from mid-June when summer school starts to the last day of summer school, which I believe is the end of July. And that's when our program will extend to at this point.
Okay. I noticed that you mentioned Lighthouse from prior programs, but I didn't hear any other charter schools or charter schools that are part of RUSD eligible. And is it based on Title I or what type of specifics?
That's a good question. Like I said, they were reaching out for their summer school sites. I'm not sure. I know there had been talk about that they work with some of their programming with some of the charter schools. At this point, we were only asked to program at the summer school sites. But that may be a question I can find out from representatives at Unified. I've been working with Antonio Crane from the Extended Learning Department, so I can always ask him a few questions on the process for that as well.
Thank you. I understand that, of course, there's a budget constraint, budget to set, but is it possible for another site that does have summer school to participate in the program at this time, or would it be too late?
It certainly could be discussed. This is our proposal that went in and with the original summer school sites. But that would be open to, to Unified being able to provide the funding for us and us to be able to get that recruitment to fill those spots.
Okay. Would I contact you or someone at RUSD if I
You could contact me, and I could reach out to Antonio. We've been meeting quite a bit over, like Tom said, the last several months to get this going. So he's our main contact for the extended learning program. So I'd be happy to talk with them, and you could shoot me an email and I could get some questions off to him.
Okay, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much, and good luck with it. I think it's a great idea. And like I said, I've been advocating for this type of program for a while. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both. I don't see any other hands for questions, so a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Second, Alder Pete.
Moved by Alder West, seconded by Alder Pete. And is there any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Again, thank you both for the information. And next item, please.
Item number 0235-22, communication sponsored by Alder Lemke on behalf of the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services to waive formal bidding for the purchase of a McLean MV5 municipal vehicle. Staff recommendation that the request of the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services to waive formal bidding for the purchase of the McLean MV5 municipal vehicle be approved. Funding to defray the cost of these materials is available in Oregon Object 45150-57310, Parks Equipment Vehicles. Director Mobeck is here to speak on the item.
So thank you. Yes, this is a budgeted item. Our department currently has 3 vehicles that remove snow from our sidewalks. This vehicle will be the start of replacing those current vehicles that are aging and many times out of commission. We are looking for this purchase to be bidding waived from the Miller Bradford Reesburg company that is the sole source provider of this vehicle and unit. We have talked with DPW in their garage, and they fully agree that this is the unit that would work best for us, not only for what it can do better for removing snow from the sidewalks, but also some of the other attachments that can be used for other things besides just removing snow. Again, I do have our park superintendent, Mike Willis, here today that has worked pretty closely on purchasing or looking to purchase this item. So if there's any detailed questions that might come out of it, Mike would be able to answer those questions.
Thank you, sir. Alder Pete, you'll get us started there.
Well, thanks again, Madam Chair. Just one quick point, Tom. Did you say that there's only one manufacturer that actually offers this particular equipment that fits our needs?
Yeah, this particular, well, Mike might be able to answer this a little better. So Mike, if I don't answer it all the way, please jump in. But this actual vehicle is one that we chose through our rep. And it is one that is only sold, this particular one is only sold by this manufacturer. But Mike, can you maybe further that a little bit or no?
You know, the MV5 McLean machine is the company that makes them. The only distributor for the whole state of Wisconsin is our Miller Bradford company. There's nobody else in the state that can get it. I cannot buy direct from the manufacturer. And I'd have to go to a different state to buy it, and I'd prefer to keep our money in the state for this machine. And this would be the first of 3, so we can replace all 3 of our machines, 1 each year for the next 3 years.
That clarified it for me when you pointed out their distribution channel and you only have one distributor. I got it. Thank you very much.
President Tate, you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Mobeck, Mike, good to see you both. Obviously supportive of replacing equipment that's necessary, particularly for snow removal, as our citizens deeply value that work. But I just wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to kind of speak to what does that snow removal on the sidewalk operation look like when it occurs, and what are the, I guess, most opportune times that we do it, as citizens probably are maybe not aware that that's something that we particularly do, or might be questioning like, when's it happening, or when's it supposed to happen? How's it up? When's that occur? So you can just speak to that briefly.
Sure. We have, we call them 3 sidewalk routes. Each route has approximately 10 to 11 miles worth of sidewalk that they have to maintain, like 30 locations each. So there's like 90 locations that we do all around town. Not all of it's parkland. It's like, City Hall and the safety building. We do lots of other things that aren't ours. And we try to follow, because we're not staffed like DPW, we try to follow the ordinance of 24 hours after it snows, we will have it completed and cleared off. We do, a lot of overtime on this and do it on weekends, 7 days a week. And we do it during daylight hours because they're not the well lit thing after hours, but we'll come in like 5, 6 in the morning to get started, need be. And if it's icy, we obviously do more, but that's the basic gist. I don't know if I answered every one of your questions there or.
More or less, yes. I guess it's not necessarily a Parks and Rec thing. I just wonder what it would take to kind of expand that to not just like the city property or city owned lands, and those sorts of things, because they're kind of higher pedestrian traffic areas that a lot of citizens think about that don't necessarily get covered by the property owner. I'm wondering, it's probably not necessarily a question for Parks and Rec to answer, but I'm just thinking, how is there room for us to do more with this particular technology that we have that is obviously a lot more efficient than someone bending their back with a shovel in a high traffic area simply because they own a building next to a high traffic area. But not necessarily that that's something we necessarily should take on. I just wonder what your thoughts might be around that.
Well, you're talking like doing for like private citizens or businesses?
I mean, commercial districts sometimes I think of that have high traffic areas. I know some contract out to other entities as it is, and whether that's something that we might be open to doing as well, as far as providing that additional service for an additional fee for a collective group. But that's, again, kind of a conversation for another area. But since we're on the subject of this particular tool, it came to mind. So you don't necessarily have to speak to it. It's just thinking out loud, really.
Okay.
So thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think to follow up with Alder Tate's question, I think I know, and this is again probably a DPW question, not for parks, but I know that you work closely together with snow removal and other things. And, I think I know we contract out a number of, areas that aren't compliant with snow removal. And we do contract out that work for snow removal through, that's not necessarily DPW workers, but we do hire folks to help with that. And so I don't know, it might be more efficient sometimes in areas where there's a lot of that to bring out one of these tools and have it done in-house instead of paying for contractors. And again, that's more a question for DPW, but if you have thoughts, great. If you don't, I will take it up with DPW.
Well, for a full snowfall, we only have like 19 full-time staff. So if we're into alleys and plowing, it takes every single person we have.
Yep, that was my impression.
Yeah.
We would need another whole machine to do anything extra because the other ones are tied up. Takes them like 7-8 hours to get the sidewalk routes done.
Yep.
We need more manpower, another, $200,000 machine. And it would just, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not even including if we get asked to come up and help in snow emergency situations. They take anywhere between half of our staff to even more than that. And then that leaves us with trying to catch up and meet that, that hour that we're supposed to be done with our cleanup. So it becomes difficult. Good questions to ask. It'd be great to be able to do that, but we have to look at our system as well. So.
Yep. No, we only have so much manpower and time. Alder Tate II, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Tom, to your point, that's part of the reason why I asked those particular questions, because I know there's a lot circulating in the community, like, well, why aren't they doing this? Or why don't they just do that? And I got to give you guys a chance to speak to, like, well, here are some of the actual limitations or kind of constraints as to just doing what we're trying to do in the first place, and why we're not necessarily doing certain things, because there is a cost associated with, person working. There's a cost associated with materials and tools working, and to function and maintain those things. And I think people very easily don't necessarily get the complete picture of, the operations and what all it takes, and why some solution that comes to mind isn't necessarily the quick solution that they may think it is. So I just want to give you guys kind of a chance to answer some of the general comments that may exist out there around, like, well, if you got this thing, why aren't you doing it everywhere? It's like, well,
Yeah.
here's your answer. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep. We appreciate your work. Okay. It looks like a motion would be in order at this time because I don't see any other hands.
Move to approve.
Second, Alder Pete.
All right. Moved by President Tate, seconded by Alder Pete. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you both. Director Fisher, please proceed.
Item number 0233-22, communication sponsored by Alder Lemke on behalf of the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services, submitting bid results for official notice number 2-2022, Horlick Field concessions, requesting that the Racine Raiders be approved to use Horlick concession site for one initial contract year with option to renew for 4 additional one-year periods. Staff recommendation that the Director of Park Recreation and Cultural Services, based on bid results of official notice 2-2022 Horlick Athletic Field, enter into contract with the Racine Raiders to be approved for use of the Horlick Athletic Field concession site for 1-year term with option 4-year and 1 additional year period. Fiscal note lump sum amount $8,000 per year for the first year and up to 4 additional years to be paid to the city of Racine by the Racine Raiders. Again, Director Molbeck is here to speak on the item.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen. I think you had to reread 3 things at the same time, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a notice that goes out when the contract is complete. This particular one, the only bid that we did get was from the Racine Raiders. I am only aware of the Racine Raiders in my entire career with the city being the concessionaires there. They are the only ones that bid. They've done a great job there. They know the needs of every program that's out there. So we're looking for you guys to approve this concessions contract as stated.
President Tate, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given that the Raiders have kind of been the only operator there for such a lengthy period of time, I'm curious as to on whose end the single year-to-year contract came from. Was that from the city or is that at the request of the vendor?
Yeah, so this particular, over the last year or so, it's been a habit now to going fewer like set years and then going to more additional years, option years. I think it's because the city would have an option to go in and make any changes, or even the concessionaire to make any changes that need be, instead of going for a 4-year and then a 1-year option. It gives both entities a chance to discuss any changes without any length of a contract. I don't know if I said that perfectly well or not, but it's what I'm seeing it more commonly in the contracts that I've been doing is that the city is going to more of the optional years than the set years.
Okay. And I understand what you were trying to explain. I guess I'm curious as to, with this particular vendor, knowing the history, the frequency of use, actually desire a longer contract as opposed to returning each year for that option. Because I mean, if that's what they're the Racine Raiders. Obviously this is separate from the actual team, but it's the team's behalf that's essentially operating the concessions and using those funds for the team. Wanting the option to essentially provide a longer commitment to one another, since they're our local football team. And if they were interested in a longer contract, that'd be certainly something I want to be entertaining as well, as opposed to kind of just saying these are the terms. We're going to go to year, because I think there is something to be said about an entity that is operating within here and almost exclusively, not by default, because no one else is seeking it, to operate that concession stand. So that's just kind of my thought is, if this is the scenario that we're in, and that they're the ones who are more or less committed to continue to do it, and they have been doing it and are the only ones interested in doing it, why not go for kind of a longer period from the gate as opposed to the options?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to speak for how this was done. I don't know if I would directly have that answer. I just know that we have at least 3 concession stands that we have contracts with. And I think maybe more of anything is to try to stay consistent. But I understand your thought. But I don't believe, unless something majorly happens, that the additional years wouldn't happen. The use of Horlick Field, because of the upgrades that have been there, may see more activity there. And then after a year, we say that, hey, that $8,000 should really be more like 10. That gives us that option to do that, as opposed to if it was the other way around, we'd have to have mutual agreement. This way, after 1 year, we have that ability to go in and make that change without a mutual agreement. But I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It looks like Director Fisher might have something to add to that. You're still muted.
Sorry. Sort of jumping on what Tom just said at the end there, I think this one in particular is more about the flexibility within some of the verbiage of the contract versus the vendor themselves. Just like Tom said, in both cases, sometimes there's small things within the contract that we want to revisit after that year because things change either in the market or whatever it may be. Maybe their costs are higher because everything costs more, and they'll want to renegotiate that. So it's not so much in this case the vendor, but more so just in case we need to make some modifications within the agreement for other items.
Thank you, Alder Pete.
Thanks again, Madam Chair. I definitely agree with Director Fisher just pointed out, that costs will fluctuate, and most likely in the foreseeable future, they will go up for the vendor and the city. So I understand that, even though I appreciate what Alder Tate was pointing out. On the other hand, I'm just curious, we send out the bids on an annual basis, but the rate, and again, I have great respect for the Raiders, but the Raiders are the only people that are interested in even taking over the responsibility?
Over the years, yes, they have been the sole bidder. It is a pretty big operation. If you, I think we have approximately, 25 football games that are played there, over 40 plus baseball games that are there. Now we're bringing in softball. We have other tournaments that come in there. So it's a big undertaking. It's a full-time thing as opposed to like the Oasis or the boat launch concession, where it's basically a 4-month kind of thing. That's not saying they don't do things outside of it to get ready for it, but this is a continuously from probably end of March, April, all the way through possibly November, depending on how many football teams are still playing. So
Okay.
I think that has something to do with it. And I'm sure it has a lot of people thinking that the Raiders are the ones that, you know, they do it. It's good for them. It's good for the city. They've been around. I'm sure that has something to do with it as
Okay.
well. Alder Tate basically had mentioned that when he talked before. I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
It looks as though a motion would be in order. I don't see any other hands.
Move to approve.
Moved by Alder Tate the second. Do I have a second? Seconded by Alder West. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next
you.
item, please. Thank you.
Item 0222-22, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason seeking approval to enter into a tax increment financing agreement with Summit Packaging LLC regarding a manufacturing plant expansion at 3441 South Memorial Drive. Staff recommendation is that the request to enter into a tax increment finance agreement with Summit Packaging LLC regarding a manufacturing plant expansion at 3441 South Memorial Drive be approved, and the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute the agreement and such related documents necessary to carry the agreement into effect on the city's behalf. Fiscal note, the city expects to pay Summit Packaging approximately $346,700 in estimated pay-as-you-go development incentive payments over 10 years. Other administrative costs incurred to manage TID number 29 may be reimbursed by the increment generated by TID 29 as it becomes available. Assistant Director Regic is here to speak on this item.
Please proceed, sir.
Thank you very much. As the ABM notes, this item is really an extension of the approved tax increment district number 29. The project plan for TID 29 contemplates this the arrangement here that would be included in this tax increment incentive agreement. It would provide for, as the fiscal note states, a 75% of the incremental tax is generated by the project for 10 years, which is again estimated to be about $346,700. In return, the business is proposing a just shy of $30 million investment, retention of existing jobs, and creation of 145 new jobs over the next 4 years with an annual average salary of about $42,500. Again, this basically is sort of the implementation of what was previously approved under TID 29. And I'm happy to entertain any questions as they may come up.
Mr. Bear, would you like to speak to that?
I just wanted to offer my support. I mean, we've been through this proposal through council already, but we were at the groundbreaking for Summit last week. They're obviously very excited about bringing more jobs to the area. I was very impressed with the number of city employees who work at Summit already and the active recruitment that Summit does amongst city residents. They talked about how many people rely on our bus service to get to their place of work. So it's nice to see them expand. This is actually a textbook case of what TIDs are supposed to do. We're incentivizing a development that might have otherwise gone to New Hampshire, and instead it's coming here, and we're creating an additional 145 family supporting jobs in the community. So it's a good news story and an appropriate use of the TID. I would encourage your support.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Assistant Director Regic. Do we have any questions from the committee? Alder Pete, please proceed.
Well, thank you. Of course, I would have to say that it's exciting for me, but I do have a few questions. I happen to represent that district. That's why it's exciting, or the district. But is that 145? First of all, is that 45 or 145 jobs?
It's 145 over 4 years.
Okay. I'm sorry, over 10 years or?
4 years.
Oh, that's even better. Okay. Are there any, of course, there's probably not any restrictions on where people work, or what, are we trying to incentivize people from the city to work at these jobs as opposed to coming from outside the area? Because the plant is located close to geographically south, whether it's Kenosha, Waukegan, or what have you. And I'm sure a lot of people would be concerned about that.
Matt, I don't know if you recall, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but they did give us a very large percentage of their current employees that are in fact city residents. Matt, do you remember what that figure was?
I don't, not off the top of my head.
It was more,
But
it was more than half are
Yeah,
residents. So and they are actively recruiting from the city itself to do the work. We can't mandate that they have to do that. But
Sure.
if you compare like our Racine Works ordinance that hopes that 20% of the hours go to city residents, they're already far exceeding that with their current workforce.
Okay. Is the 346, is that the total over the cost of the project, the terminal project?
it is.
That seems like a reasonable amount from that perspective. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
And yeah, just a comment, it might be useful to have those data for the full council meeting, because I'm sure folks will ask again. I'll defer to you, Mr. Mayor, next, and then President Tate next.
I was done.
Oh, okay. President Tate, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make a clarifying comment based on the fiscal note. Might be confusing for some folks who read it. The city expects to pay Summit approximately, we're not cutting a check for $346,000, correct? We're actually going to be essentially reimbursing, refunding, rebating $346,000 out of the generated taxes from the TID, correct?
So sort of. So yes, the tax increment that will be generated within the district, if it is generated, which it should be if they do what they say they're going to do, we will then do that analysis each year to save the amount of increment that actually comes in and then pay out 75% according to the agreement. These are estimates, and that's why it says estimates. It could be a little bit more than that in over the 10-year period. Each year we're looking about $35,000 as an estimate for each year. But that could be, if they don't build it when they say they're going to build it, it could be less. If they build it and it's valued more and there's, a ton of value there for whatever reason, it could be a little bit more than that.
Then my follow-up would be, is there a cap on the amount that they'll be receiving out of the TID, and what would that number be, depending on what's generated?
Matt, is there a cap in the agreement? Do you know?
There is not. The amount was negotiated as 75% of the incremental taxes.
For 10 years though.
Yeah.
So there's a limit on the number of years, which is a little bit different than some of the others.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, in other TIDs, we would say up to a certain amount of increment would be distributed. Okay, well, I mean, I guess it's mutually beneficial, because if if the TID ends up generating more, they get more, but then also that means that everybody's getting more, that's more for city services and all that sort of stuff. So nothing necessarily wrong with that. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, just to comment on the hard cap versus not, I mean, part of, I asked the same question, but I was reminded they're asking for a 10-year increment here. Most of the agreements that we brought forward have been 18 years, 20 years, 25 years on the length of it. So this is a much shorter duration of time, which made me more comfortable with not having a hard cap given. And again, it's pay as you go. So they only get the incentive if they build what they say they're going to do.
Okay, I'm looking for hands. I don't see any additional comments, so a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Moved by Alder Pete, seconded by Alder West. Are there any additional discussion? Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Item 0189-22, communication from Mayor Mason requesting that ordinance section 2-332 be amended to permit the Assistant Director of City Development to serve as acting Executive Director of the Community Development Authority in the absence of the Director of City Development, and that ordinance 0004-22 be approved. Staff recommendation to approve. There's no fiscal note for this item.
It's like we have City Administrator Bornholt here to speak to the item, perhaps. All right, please proceed, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Currently, the City Development Director, also in current, is the CDA Executive Director. And then the city created the Assistant City Director of City Development to act in the stead of the City Development Director, but did not incorporate being the Executive Director of the CDA. So since we have a vacancy now in City Director, it's made perfect sense to make the Assistant City Director, who can act in the stead of the City Development Director, he should, or she should then be able to act in the stead of the CDA Executive Director. So it's creating, fixing that missing link between the two entities.
Okie dokie. Sounds good to me. Sounds reasonable to fill in that gap. Does anybody have any questions for Administrator Bornholt? I don't see any. So at this, then a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Okay. Moved by Alder Tate II, seconded by Alder West. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item.
Item number 0228-22, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting approval to accept a Wisconsin Department of Administration Neighborhood Investment Fund grant for $15 million. Grant control number 00404. Staff recommendation that the request by Mayor Mason to accept the grant of $15 million from the Wisconsin Department of Administration Neighborhood Investment Fund be approved. Fiscal note, no additional funds are required to be allocated as a result of receiving this grant. The grant does not require a local match. Administrator Bornholt is here to speak on this fun item.
Yeah, I have, I don't want to step in the way if Mayor Mason wants to take a couple more victory laps. He well deserves it. I will just say a couple things. One is, you know, I hope you will approve this very controversial item. But B, we did make an investment in our first ARPA request to you, and that was for grant writing services and or a grant writer. You approved that. We have secured a consultant who's been very, very obviously successful in the next two items. And I just want to thank the council and the mayor again for that support, because it does take people to go after all this new opportunity. And I think the mayor said it very well. This item and the next item, there hasn't been this kind of investment by the state of Wisconsin, maybe ever, and maybe for the wrong reasons when they were made, for the wrong institutions. So this is very exciting. And again, I know Vicky Selko is here, who was a big part of getting this grant as well. If you have more questions, but you know, I think as the ABM stated, you know that this is going around the Lincoln King neighborhood in conjunction with the next grant to build the new health clinic.
Anybody have any questions, or Selko, did you have anything to add? Okay, so I don't see any additional questions, so a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Alder West, seconded by President Tate. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Excellent. Next item, please.
Item number 0229-22, next big check coming up. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting approval to accept a Wisconsin Department of Administration Healthcare Infrastructure Capital Investment Grant for $20 million. Grant control number 00411. That the request by Mayor Mason to accept the grant of $20 million from Wisconsin Department of Administration be approved. Fiscal note, this grant does not require a local match. We have lots of people. I'm not sure which one wants to speak first.
I
Okay,
will
make
only
it
go,
work.
I am only going to go through that, just as the ABM states, you gave us permission to apply for the grant. Now we are coming back to you to accept the grant, and that is all this motion is doing.
All right, but it's doing so much more. We're going to do so much with this money. Good things for our neighborhoods. Are there any other questions, or does anybody else want to speak to this item?
I'll
Okay,
just say Alder West has been really good luck for his district since he took office. We've had lots of really great things happening in his district. So kudos to Alder West.
awesome. All right, so a motion would be in order at this time. Maybe Alder West would like to make that motion.
Move to approve.
All right. Seconded by President Tate II. So all in, I don't see any further discussion. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone involved. This is a lot of hard work, and I just really appreciate the vision and the work and all the opportunities to do great things. Next item, please.
All right, item number 0227-22. This one's just a little bit smaller, but still awesome. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason requesting approval for a grant application for $2 million from the Wisconsin Department of Health and, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Grant control number 00437. Staff recommendation that the request sponsored by Mayor Mason to apply for a grant for $2 million from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services be approved. No additional city funds will be allocated as a result. The grant does not require a local match. Administrator Vornholt is here to speak on this one as well.
Thank you, Chair and members. So this one's a little bit of a different animal. A long time ago, there was a thing called earmarks in the United States Congress, where members of Congress and the United States Senate could sponsor direct requests for their districts or entities or institutions that they wanted to direct spending to. So that was eliminated for a time period, but it was reintroduced about 2 years ago that they decided that now they don't call them earmarks, they call it congressional directed spending. So in conversations that Mayor Mason had with Senator Tammy Baldwin, who was interested in what the needs of Racine were and what things that maybe she could be helpful on, one of his requests, probably his top request, although many things are his top request, but weighted was for another appropriations directed to the new Racine Community Health Clinic, and she was successful in getting that in the appropriations bill for 2022. The next step is, and the reason we didn't bring this forward as it's not a grant until it was approved in the spending bill. So now it is a grant that we are eligible for. And literally, unless we don't sign the document, I don't think we're not going to get it. It's kind of this is how they're appropriating it. And so now we have to formally apply for the grant that's been congressionally directed spending toward the city of Racine. So we are here tonight to approve us applying for the grant, not accepting.
Thank you for that. That is also very exciting. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and certainly excited. Thank you, directed to Senator Baldwin. Would you like to speak to the item, Mr. Mayor?
I just want to, in addition to giving kudos to Alder West and the good luck that he brings to his neighborhood in the Lincoln King neighborhood, this item and the last two were really, I mean, this is a direct result of Tammy Baldwin's advocacy for Racine. And the previous two were the result of the ARPA bill passing with Joe Biden's leadership and Governor Evers allocating two very large portions of the state allocation of ARPA to us. And so I would be remiss if I didn't express a lot of gratitude to Joe Biden and Tammy Baldwin and Tony Evers for making this and the previous two items possible.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. It takes a lot of leadership to get these things done, and we are certainly very grateful as a city. So that being said, I believe a motion, I think we still need a motion on this item, correct?
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Alder West, seconded by President Tate II. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's go get that money. Any further? So next item, please, Director Fisher.
0158-22, communication sponsored by Alder Taft on behalf of the City Attorney's Office, submitting the claim of Patricia Pacheco, for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation is that the claim be disallowed.
Attorney Rubik. Yep, please proceed.
Thank you very much.
Rubik, I always had an S. I'm sorry.
Patricia Pacheco filed a claim with the city demanding $1,018.50 in damages to her parked vehicle that she alleges arose from a collision involving a DPW snowplow in the 600 block of Hagerer Street back on January 3rd of this year. However, there's no proof that the damage to the claimant's vehicle was caused by a DPW snowplow or any vehicle associated with the city. No one saw the accident. There's no evidence that a city vehicle causes this accident, and there are no reports that a snowplow was in an accident on that date. So it's a recommendation of my office that this claim be disallowed.
All right. President Tate, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, it would be DPW policy, correct, that if a driver did collide with the vehicle, that they would immediately report that and communicate. So there would be a record of something on our end, because there's no benefit in anyone saying I didn't hit something, because it's going to come up later anyway. So yeah, I'll make the motion, move to disallow.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Pete. I don't see any further discussion on this item. Oh, Alder Tate, your hand is still up, so I didn't know. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item, please.
0191-22, communication sponsored by Alder Taft on behalf of the City Attorney's Office, submitting the claim of James Reed for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation is that the claim be disallowed.
All right, Attorney Rubik, please proceed.
Thank you so much. In this one, James Reed claimed reimbursement in the amount of $569.25 for vehicle damages allegedly arising from a water main break, which caused flooding in the street where his vehicle was allegedly parked at the corner of Drexel and Delaware Avenues on or about January 5th, 2022. It's a recommendation of the City Attorney's Office that this claim be disallowed because the city and the waterworks utility had no constructive or actual knowledge of a defect in the water main in question. And as such, neither entity can be held legally liable for the alleged damages.
Okay, President Tate.
Just out of curiosity, what sort of damages could have occurred to a vehicle by a water main break?
I believe
Allegedly. Even allegedly.
allegedly, he claimed that some water got into his tailpipe, I believe, and that the $569.25 were to for some service that removed the water and any sort of damages that occurred, that caused.
Even how the water mains work. Okay, thank you. Move to disallow.
Second.
Okay, moved by Alder Tate II, seconded by Alder West. I don't see any further discussion. So unless Alder Tate has one more comment with your hand up. Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries, bringing us to the next item.
Item 0192-22, communication sponsored by Alder Taft on behalf of the city attorney's office, submitting the claim of Carol Oberlin for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation is that the claim be disallowed.
Attorney Rubik, please proceed.
Thank you so much. Carol Oberlin filed a claim with the city requesting $1,050 for alleged damages sustained to her front and back doors of her residence. The claimant resides at 3215 21st Street in Racine, and she had locked her minor child out of her house on or around 9:30 p.m. on the night of November 29th of last year. After the minor child had attempted to gain entry into the house for about 2.5 hours, the police were finally dispatched to the residence around midnight that night to address the issue of this minor child being locked outside for hours late at night in 19-degree cold weather. When the claimant finally answered her door for the police and her son around 12:45 a.m., she immediately accused the police of damaging her door by knocking on it. As such, the city denies liability for the damages alleged in this claim, and the city attorney's office recommends that this claim be disallowed.
My goodness, okay. I hope that minor child is all right. So do we have any further questions or discussion on this item? If not, a motion would be in order at this time.
Move to approve.
Disallow.
Okay, move to disallow
Aye.
by Alder West, seconded by Alder Tate the second, seeing. Do we have any further
It was one
discussion?
of those two.
One what, huh?
The second was one of those two. I didn't second.
Yes, yeah, no, yes. Oh, sorry about that. Pardon me. Seconded by Alder Pete. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
0231-22, communication sponsored by Alder Taft on behalf of the city attorney, submitting the claim of BMC Racine LLC and MARC Racine LLC for an excessive real estate assessment and taxes of the property located at 2308 South Green Bay Road, tax parcel number 239010000 for the 2021 tax year for consideration. Staff recommendation that the claim of BMC Racine LLC and MARC Racine LLC for an excessive real estate assessment and taxes of the property located at 2308 South Green Bay Road, tax parcel 239010000 for the 2021 tax year be denied. I believe Attorney Letney on this one.
Yep, Attorney Letney, please proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. This is, I won't call it a formality, but a step in the process. This is the shopping area, the shopping center that's west of Green Bay Road, south of 21st Street. There's a dispute as to the assessment. It's gone through the Board of Review. The Board of Review made its decision. And the owners of this property still disagree with the assessment. So if they want to appeal it, they have to ask for this first, and then they can sue us in circuit court. This is something that happens periodically. It has gone through the Board of Review. I've talked to the assessor about it. The assessor did a nice job at the Board of Review, but the owners still think it's been assessed at about 30% higher than they agree it should be. So this will end up having it resolved in the courts. So I recommend denial of this claim.
Okay, thank you for that. So was it, do you know, just out of curiosity, like what the jump was? I know it was went through the Board of Regents, but they say that it went up. They think it's 30%, assessed 30% higher. Is that like how much the increase was, or?
I apologize. I don't have the 2020 assessment in front of me.
Okay.
The 2021 assessment was 13,375,000.
Okay.
I think it should have been a little more than 9 million.
Okay. All right. that might be helpful for full council, but I totally understand. Any other questions? If not, a motion would be in order at this time.
To deny?
If the motion would be to deny, Attorney Letney to,
This is different than the other claims where we disallow.
yeah, okay, so motion to deny would be the appropriate motion at this time. So Alder Tate, were you asking for clarification or did you move to deny?
No, I was making a motion.
Okay, great, sorry, yeah, children, dogs.
Second.
Moved by Alder Tate, the second, seconded by Alder West. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item, please.
So our next item, we would be moving into closed session. Would you like me to read the closed session language?
That would be helpful. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. It's intended that the Finance and Personnel Committee will convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85, par 1, par E, to address matters that for competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85, par 1, par 9, or par G, sorry, to confer with legal counsel concerning strategy with respect to litigation in which the city of Racine is involved.
Motion to go into closed session would be in order.
Move to enter closed session.
Okay, moved by President Tate,
Second.
seconded by Alder West. I believe we need a roll call vote to move into closed session. So if we could do that, that would be great.
Okay. Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Tate the second,
Aye.
and Alder Meekum is excused. That completes roll call to go into closed session.
All right, let's get that closed session moving.
Okay, just one moment. Let me stop Facebook Live. Just one moment.
Thank you.